My name is Margarita Velandia, and I am an associate professor at the Department of Agriculture and Research Economics at University of Tennessee. In this video, Hal Pepper, value-added specialist at the Center for Profitable Agriculture and NILE, will go through some record-keeping tools that can fit the needs of small fruit and vegetable farms. Although for some of you, this may not be the most exciting topic, the concept of profitability is always attractive. I can assure you that it may be challenging to evaluate the profitability of your farm if you don't keep good records. The first step to profitability is good record keeping. Records give you the information you need to make sound business management decisions. Let's go through the available record keeping options for you. There are three options you could consider: paper-based records, Excel spreadsheets, and specific software designed to keep farm records. Some small farms and many businesses just starting out find that paper notebooks and folders meet their needs. We'll not go through paper-based records in this video. If you have some familiarity with Excel spreadsheets are a good compromise between paper systems and more sophisticated record-keeping software. Many new farms start out with a simple spreadsheet. If you don't need to generate invoices and have a relatively simple, small operation, we'll show you a couple of spreadsheet examples that may help you keep records. Finally, there is software designed to keep production and financial records. The most common software program for financial management is QuickBooks. We'll go through some of the most popular software available to keep financial farm records that will fit the needs of small fruit and vegetable farms. There are some useful examples of Excel spreadsheet at the Southern Sustainable Agriculture Working Group website listed on the top of this slide. For example, this sample spreadsheet is designed to help you keep track of your farm expenses. There are other examples in this website that will help you keep track, for example, of sales and products sold. In addition to providing you with resources that could help you keep track of your farm records using Excel, I also wanted to bring you the opinions of other farmers that have been in business for at least 3 years, selling fruits and vegetables through direct consumer outlets. The first question I asked farmers was, how do you keep track of harvest, product, and product sold? One of them said that depending on type of product, they will keep track of yield per raw food and or total sales. Another producer suggested that for a farm producing from 1 to 3 items, you should keep track of picked product and packed records. In other words, keep track of what comes out of the field and also what is packed in crates. By keeping harvest records in this way, you will be able to identify the percentage of harvest products that is actually marketable. He believes this method will work maybe for crops such as peppers, tomatoes, and squash, but may not be useful for keeping harvest records for greens and herbs. One of the farmers we interviewed suggested that for the case of a highly diversified farm, such as a farm selling products through a CSA, a good way to keep track of harvest product is to keep track of harvest product by container. For example, if I have a pig container that holds approximately 10 pounds of broccoli, then just keep track of how many 10-pound containers were harvested and taken to market or taken to assemble CSA shares. When I asked producers what tools they used to keep track of farm records, they mentioned Excel spreadsheets and notepads as the most useful tools to keep records. In the following slides, I will show you two examples of spreadsheets a particular farmer I have worked with uses to keep track of sales and expenses. In this first spreadsheet, this farmer keeps track of sales. Since he generates invoices for every sale he makes, the first two columns identify transactions by invoice number. Column C specifies the client's name. Column D describes the type of transaction, so whether it was a cash, check, bank transfer, or credit card transaction. Column E specifies the date of the transaction. And finally, column F specifies the amount of the transaction. In this next spreadsheet, the farmer keeps track of the farm expenses. In column A, he specifies the date of the transaction. In column B, he specifies the expense category. In column C, he specifies the vendor's name. And in the last column, he specifies the total value of the transaction. Recently, we built 5 case studies using information from 2 farms in Tennessee and 3 farms in Virginia. Some of these farms keep records using Excel spreadsheets. This information allows me to identify their production cost, structure, market outlets use, and other information. The analysis of these 5 case studies is available in the University of Tennessee website using the link at the bottom of this slide. I'm highlighting this analysis to help you understand how valuable are farm records in understanding cost structure and marketing. That is important information when making decisions about changing marketing strategies or production practices that could positively or negatively impact your farm profit. One of the first analyses we did with the information these farmers provided was the cost structure of these farms. Understanding the cost structure of a farm could help us understand the resources needed to start a farm operation. For example, it is expected that a farm with a higher percentage of labor-intensive crops is going to have a larger percentage of variable expenses associated with labor. In this graph, we can see that farm A's and B's largest expenses are feed purchase for livestock or poultry and labor. This is expected given that these operations specialize in vegetable production but also have a percentage of sales derived from poultry and beef sales. Farms B and E indicated a percentage of their labor cost or all labor costs were equal to 0 because they either rely on their own labor or family labor. That explains why, although Farm E heavily relies in vegetable production, the labor costs presented in these graphs are equal to 0. Although for tax purposes, the opportunity cost of labor cannot be taken into account, for decision-making purposes, the opportunity cost of labor could be critical in understanding the long-term sustainability of a farm. For example, in the case of farmer E, if he gets ill or has an accident, his operation automatically will shut down. Therefore, he may want to incorporate the value of his labor, at least to better reflect whether the farm generated revenue could cover labor costs in case he had to hire workers. Now, we're going to switch gears and talk about various record keeping and analysis software you could also consider to keep farm records. We'll briefly talk about AXsquare, Veggie Compass, Quicken, and QuickBooks. AXsquare is an online record-keeping platform that is designed for small-scale mixed vegetable growers. As any other tool, it could be time-consuming when setting it up, but once you set it up, it might help you plan, keep track of activities, supplies, etc. There are three versions of this tool: the Basic, the Plus, and the Premier version. You can try some of the basic features of this tool for free, just to decide whether this tool may be useful for the type of operation you currently have or are planning to start. As I mentioned before, there are three versions of this tool: the Basic, the Plus, and the Premier versions. In this slide, I show the cost for the three versions. The major difference between the Basic and the Plus version is that the Plus version allows you to keep track of labor and production costs, while the Basic version does not allow you to keep track of those records. AXsquare is built based on the assumption that there are three stages in any farming season. Each of these stages entails keeping track of different types of information. At the beginning of the season, you plan what is going to happen on your farm, such as what crops you will grow and where are you going to plant them. At this stage, you probably are focusing on your crop plan. Then, once the season gets rolling, you start to implement the plan you designed at the beginning of the season. That is the stage we call management. Finally, at the end of the season, you start compiling farm records to assess how the farming season went. Also, so that you can comply with any type of certification or prepare income tax returns. Finally, you can conduct an analysis using appropriate farm records to plan the next season. On the top of this slide, you will see the link to the AXsquare Help website. In this website, you will find useful information such as 10-minute videos that will help you get started with AXsquare. Now, I'm going to talk briefly about a Veggie Compass. Although some consider the Veggie Compass a record-keeping tool, it is not. Veggie Compass is a farm management tool for diversified fresh market growers. In this sense, Veggie Compass is an analysis and management tool, not a record-keeping tool. The Veggie Compass spreadsheet requires farmers to enter financial, labor, and sales data, creating a holistic picture of their farm financials. The tool can also be used to predict the financial impact of different farm scenarios for the future and to assess the farm's financial progress. The Veggie Compass has very specific requirements on how to enter the data for analysis, and therefore, if you plan to use Veggie Compass as a management and analysis tool, you should probably start finding record-keeping tools that fit the needs for this tool. Examples of record-keeping tools that will help you use Veggie Compass as a management and analysis tool are available in the link below. Finally, the link at the bottom of this slide will take you to the Southern Sustainable Agriculture Working Group website, where they have videos on how to use and get started with Veggie Compass. One of the biggest struggles for farmers when using Veggie Compass is the ability to keep records on a per crop basis and on a market outlet basis. If you feel the analysis from Veggie Compass may be useful for your farm, start finding record-keeping tools that will allow you to enter the right information to obtain a useful analysis that could help you guide future farm business decisions. Now, we're going to let Hal introduce us to Quicken and QuickBooks.
Thanks, Margarita. I want to take a few minutes to talk about a couple of record-keeping programs that will allow farmers to record their accounting transactions and reconcile their bank accounts. These are QuickBooks and Quicken. While it's not our intent to endorse these products over any others, QuickBooks and Quicken are readily available at stores and online, and there are some training resources for farmers using these programs. QuickBooks is the more sophisticated of the two and is preferred if you want to prepare invoices or calculate payroll for employees, or if you need to track accounts payable and accounts receivable. A farm that has multiple employees or has the need to invoice customers would definitely want to choose QuickBooks over Quicken. There are several versions of QuickBooks, but a small business with a single user can get QuickBooks Premier for between $350 and $500. Payroll is extra, about $25 a month for basic payroll. It's easy to set up QuickBooks, and the sample chart of accounts can be modified to fit any farm business. However, it's not so easy to set QuickBooks up correctly. It's a good idea to get some help in the beginning to see that you get started on the right foot, and I'll mention some resources that can help with that in a moment. QuickBooks has a class feature that allows you to associate income and expenses with a specific enterprise, so you can generate reports that show the activity for each one. And you can also set up lists for items, vendors, customers, and employees in QuickBooks that make it easy to sort and summarize transactions for each of these. This slide shows an example of a nursery's profit and loss statement. The class feature was used to allocate the income and expenses associated with the nursery's enterprise's container stock and field stock in the first two columns of numbers. The next columns are labeled overhead and unclassified, and the final column shows the total income and expenses. Quicken is a personal finance record-keeping program that may be adapted by farmers to track both family and farm income and expenses. It is a record-keeping program that is easy for people unfamiliar with accounting terms to use. Quicken is available for between $75 and $120. Later, if you decide that you want to upgrade to QuickBooks, you can export your Quicken files into QuickBooks. The tag feature in Quicken allows you to identify transactions by enterprise, and you can generate some really neat reports showing income and expenses for each. Quicken isn't able to handle accounts payable or accounts receivable, and if you have employees, you'll need to use some other method outside of Quicken to calculate gross and net payroll checks. A cash flow report can be generated in Quicken to show all the inflows and outflows of cash for the business. And a cash flow report can be generated to show these inflows and outflows by enterprise. In this example, the enterprises are blueberries, blackberries, okra, pumpkins, sweet corn, and overhead. And the sources of revenue are farmers market sales, pick your own sales, on-farm sales, and wholesale sales. The overall cash flow totals for each enterprise make it easy to see whether the net cash flow for each was positive or negative. University of Tennessee farm management specialists offer assistance in using QuickBooks and Quicken, and they offer record-keeping workshops from time to time. To identify the farm management specialists serving your area, you may go to the directory and map of farm management specialists at the link provided. There are several versions of QuickBooks and Quicken, and you'll want to choose the version best suited for your needs. Contact the University of Tennessee area farm management specialist in your area for help with choosing the appropriate version. Cornell's Small Farms program offers a good online introduction to QuickBooks through a weekly webinar that lasts for 6 weeks. Cornell's course calendar is available online, and you may access it at the link provided. Participants complete exercises which are reviewed and edited by an instructor, so you'll need your own version of QuickBooks to participate in this webinar. The Tennessee Small Business Development Center also offers introductory training in using QuickBooks at tsbdc.org, and those workshops are available in person.